In this lesson titled Securing Worksheets, we're in Workbook Lesson 11, Security, and we're on the Budget Worksheet tab. When securing a worksheet in Excel, it's important to understand a couple of different concepts. Let's start first by going to the Review tab and to our Protect Sheet command that's in our Changes group. Let's click on that. This can be a little confusing the first time you open this up. This is our Protect Sheet dialog box. It asks for a password to protect the sheet, and then we get lots of options about the different ways that it will protect the sheet. You can see here this first box says Protect Worksheet and Contents of Locked Cells. So by checking this, it will protect the entire worksheet, and it will protect the contents of locked cells. So this introduces two different concepts. One, protecting the entire worksheet, and two, protecting locked cells. And then down here we have a lot of caveats or exceptions, different things that users can be allowed to do if we check them. If we don't check any of these, then they won't be able to do any of them. Everything will be protected. So let's take a look at this concept of locked cells by closing this. If I select any cell, in fact I'm going to select every cell by going to my Select All button in the top left corner, and I'm going to right click and choose Format Cells and go over to your Protection tab, and you will see that every single cell in a worksheet is locked by default. Also, it's visible by default. Hidden is not checked. So I'm going to say OK. So every cell is locked by default. So the way this is typically used is first you select everything in your worksheet, right-click, Format Cells, and Unlock. This sounds strange, I know, but we unlock every cell. Now we lock only the cells that we want to control independently. So for instance, I want to be able to control this data here. I want to make sure nobody changes these formulas that give me my answers for total and average for this budget. So I could select all of these cells, right click, format, and I am going to lock these so they're locked. So these are locked and all of these are unlocked. In fact, the entire worksheet is unlocked. Just these here are locked. So now we go to Protect Worksheet and we can see what we can do. We can enter a password. I'm going to enter PW for password. I'm going to check the box, Protect Worksheet and Contents of Locked Cells. And now I have all of these exceptions. So my first exception is Select Locked Cells. Can you select a locked cell? Sure. You can select it. Select Unlocked Cells? Yes, you can select an unlocked cell. Can you format cells? No. Can you format rows, columns, insert a row? No. I'm not going to check any of these. Can you edit objects? Can you sort? Can you delete? No. So all I'm letting them do is select locked and unlocked cells, but they can't make any of these other choices. I'm going to say OK. It's going to ask for the password one more time, PW. Don't want to forget your password. And let's see what we've done. So I can select my locked cells. So I'm selecting them. Can I change them? Can I double click and change it? Nope. The cells you're trying to change is on a protected sheet. It says you have to unprotect first. I'm going to come over here to an unprotected cell and double click. Oh, and I can edit that. It's not protected. So I could make changes. What about if I go to the Home button here? Go to the Home button here, but I'm locked out of a lot of things because I didn't check the exception for them. Locked out, it's all grayed out. If you ever see this and everything seems grayed out, it may be that you need to go to your Review tab and see if you have Unprotect now instead of Protect Worksheet. So if I hit Unprotect, it's going to ask for a password, PW, I hit OK, and so I have complete control over everything again. So let's try a different variation now. This time we still have these locked and all of these are unlocked. And let's go over here to Review, Protect Sheet. I'm going to put in PW for my password, and I'm going to say allow all users of this worksheet to, and select lock cells. No, you can't lock them. Can you select unlock cells? Yes. In fact, you can do everything you want. Every single option I'm going to select. So every option you can select. The only one I'm unselecting is select lock cells. So you can do anything you want to a locked or unlocked cell, but you cannot even select a cell if it's locked. Say OK. It's going to ask for the password again, PW. This is the most useful because here I can select any of these. I can make any changes I want to them. Nothing's grayed out. All my options are available. But over here on the lock cells, I cannot select them. If I click and drag, nothing. Double click, nothing. I can't even select them. So it completely locks these out from any kind of changes, while allowing all of the unlocked cells to be given every single option so that we can do anything we want to. That's probably the most common way of protecting a worksheet, by protecting just certain things in a worksheet. Let's go back one more time, Review, and unprotect, ask for the password, PW, and everything's unprotected. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to uncheck that box. And do you see when that box is unchecked, I can't even say OK. This actually has to be checked, and then you can make these choices, and then you can check OK. It would be nice if there was a quick way to uncheck all of these. There really isn't. You just have to go through and uncheck them all. It's going to show you just one more thing. I'm saying protect worksheet and contents of locked cells, and I just put in a password, PW. So the only thing I did was check that box and say OK. Password again. And you'll see just everything is protected. I can't click anywhere because there's no exceptions. So by locking and unlocking cells, you're able to differentiate between the two and give them unique characteristics, like whether or not you can even select it, and if you do select it, what kind of things can you do to it as far as formatting is concerned. So that is protecting a worksheet. Sometimes it's also valuable to hide individual worksheet tabs. So down here we have budget, year-to-date, pay, and commission rate. We might decide that commission rate has a lot of confidential information on it that we don't want others to see. But it is part of the workbook, and we do have formulas that are pulling information from this worksheet tab. We just don't want anyone to go to it to see it at all. You might be aware of a command that lets you right-click and choose Hide. So we just simply do not see that worksheet. Now sometimes you might be working in a workbook and it's a little frustrating because you know there's some data somewhere it's pulling from, but you just can't see where that tab is. To unhide any hidden tabs, you simply right-click any tab and choose Unhide. And then you get a dialog box showing you all the hidden worksheet tabs, and you could select the one you're interested in unhiding and select OK, and it simply comes back. But since most people might know how to right-click and choose Unhide, we want to hide it in a way where it doesn't even show up on the list of worksheet tabs that you can unhide. So this method is a little advanced, so fair warning, you might not be interested in using this, but if you are, you can practice and I think you'll be able to do it. What you do is you simply hit Alt F11 on your keyboard. This opens up the Visual Basic dialog box. Excel lets you build Visual Basic macros and programming to run in the background of Excel to do a lot of very interesting things. It also uses a project window and a properties window that includes every single sheet. So up here in the project window, we have sheet 1, 2, 3, and 4 with their names: budget, year-to-date, pay, commission rate. And then as I select each one down in the properties window, it gives me all of their properties. So I'm going to select sheet 4, commission rate. Here's all of its properties. And the very last property is called visible. And if we hit this drop-down box, under visible we have 3 choices: sheet visible, sheet hidden, sheet very hidden. Sheet hidden is the typical right-click on the sheet tab and choose hide, and then you can click on any sheet and choose unhide. But very hidden is different. I'm going to select it. And immediately we saw it disappear down below. It's no longer listed. Commission rate has disappeared. Let's close this window. And now let's right-click on any sheet tab, and you see there is nothing to unhide. Excel is claiming that there are no hidden sheets. So this can be very useful. Well, how do we undo that? Once again, Alt F11. Up here in our project view, we want to select commission rate. Then come down here to the visible property and change it to visible. And then we close it again. It's a little tricky. We're using the back end of Excel in a rather powerful way to completely remove the visibility of a sheet tab. It's also sometimes very useful to simply hide a column or a row because it has some information in it that we don't want to confuse other individuals, or we don't even want them to see it at all. So for instance, we're here in our commission rate tab, and we might decide that it's a little too confusing to see things like the base salary and the new salary and maybe even the rank. We could actually select all 3 of those, right-click, and choose hide. And all of those are hidden from our view, and they only see this data. Now, it's quite obvious we have some hidden columns. A, B, C, D, H. We can see that some are hidden. To unhide those, you might think you just need to right-click next to it. No, there's no unhide. There's there's an unhide, but it doesn't do anything. We can try the other side and say unhide, but again, it does nothing. You actually have to select both columns on each side, then you can right-click and choose unhide, and it will be effective. I'm going to hit Control-Z to go back again. I want to show you one more thing. If you know that you have hidden columns somewhere in your worksheet and you just simply want to unhide all of them, you could just select all at the top left corner, and then you could either double-click between any of these for best fit, or you could right-click any of them and choose unhide, and that will work. So you may have hidden columns, and there may be 16 or 17 or 200 columns down, and you don't want to go hunting them all down. You could just simply unhide all of them. And the same are for rows. You could simply hide a row, and you would have a little visual clue that there are hidden rows, but you could always just unhide all.